Hello, welcome to another exciting edition of Inside Nilds, a program that brings you up to speed on the activities and developments at the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies. In today's package, Nilds to train over 3,000 legislative aides across the country. National Assembly Service Commission assures staff of improved working conditions. DG Nilds advocates code of conduct for parliamentary staff of state houses of assembly. State legislators hail Nilds for qualitative training programs. I am Emmanuel Ohiomokai. It's all about capacity building today. I'll be right back. Welcome. The National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, Nilds, has set a target to train over 3,000 legislative aides this year. The Director General of the Institute, Professor Abubakar Suleiman, who stated this at the opening of a 3-day capacity building workshop for legislative aides in Abuja, tasked the assistants on the need to contribute more to the nation's legislative and policymaking process.
In the last quarter of the year 2020, the Institute Governing Council, led by the two presiding officers, issued a directive that the training of aides should be prioritized. It is in line with this vision of leadership and council that the Institute dedicated a substantial part of its annual work plan to building the capacity of aides through systematic capacity building and the provisions of technical advice and cooperative research. The Institute plans to reach out to all 3,000 plus legislative aides in a 3-year cycle, that is 1,000 annually. This is no doubt the most ambitious and all-encompassing capacity development of aides since the year 1999, and I must give the credit to the leadership of the 9th Assembly.
Professor Suleiman applauded the leadership of the National Assembly for demonstrating its commitment to building the capacity of legislative aides while stressing the need for the aides to always prove their mettle.
I wish to thank the leadership of the National Assembly for their commitment to improving the quality of legislative aides and strengthening their capacity through continuous training and retraining.
The clerk of the National Assembly, architect Ojo Olatunde Amos, who was represented by the Secretary, Human Resources, Elder Felix Onruwase, emphasized the importance of legislative aides to democratic governance.
There is no disputing the fact that legislative aides are very crucial to the business of lawmaking in any representative democracy in the world. That is why it gladdens my heart that the Professor Abubakar Suleiman's led National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies has put together this timely workshop. It is more exciting that this training exercise is aimed at enhancing the knowledge of all categories of legislative aides, beginners, intermediate, and advanced, within the National Assembly, with a determined efforts of instilling necessary skills to scale up their overall performance.
The clerk explained that the training was aimed at boosting the overall performance of the aides and urged them to take advantage of their program to equip themselves in the area of bill drafting and other relevant aspects of their job.
Indeed, legislative aides must be able to draft, analyze, and scrutinize bills. They must be able to handle policy information and data briefs, act as technical assistant to their principals. Legislative aid must constantly be engaged in continuous capacity building programs, research and publications, postgraduate programs, outreach, and networking to enhance their duties.
The Chairman, National Assembly Service Commission, Engineer Ahmed Kadi Amshi, tasked the legislative aides in the area of providing relevant information and data to their principals through adequate research.
I urge you as legislators, be proactive, welcome, conduct research works, gather information, and feed your principals with it so that they can appreciate your services. And in doing so, you are also helping them in their legislative activities.
Engineer Amshi gave assurances that the Commission was taking steps to improve the working conditions of staff of the National Assembly.
As a Commission, we are working on a legislative guideline, a new guideline in which we will properly take care of your welfare, properly in church.
The representative of the Deputy Senate President, Dr. Tive Igbuzo, stressed that the quality of legislation depend largely on the quality of legislative aids available in the country.
It is very clear that the quality of legislation depends a lot on the quality of legislative aids. I think that is why this capacity building workshop is very timely and necessary, especially as our country needs all the legislation that can support economic growth, anti-corruption efforts, and improvement of security in the country.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, represented by the Deputy Leader of the House, Honorable Peter Akpatasin, pledged his commitment to ensure capacity building for legislators so that they would continue to support the executive to deliver good governance.
A competent system of legislative aids will go a long way in improving the quality of our legislations, chamber debates, as well as oversight activities of the National Assembly. This point is sufficiently captured in our legislative agenda, which stresses that the House will work with the Senate and the Executive to build legislative capacity through establishment of structures, systems, and processes to assist members of the National Assembly in developing the policy, research, analysis, and monitoring capacity that is essential to the proper functioning of modern legislature.
The Speaker also promised to sustain the House's support for Nilds.
As outlined in the agenda, we will continue to support the work of National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, Nilds, and other development partners in training legislators and legislative staff. Similar support shall be extended to our committees to enable them perform properly.
Olayemi Tovivo, a legislative aide from Kwara State, participated in one of the workshops.
Nilds has been able to impact knowledge in us when you talk of the roles of legislative aids, when you talk of oversight function, when you talk of budgets.
Ife Oluwapo, a senior legislative aide, attended the advanced legislative course.
It has been a very stimulating program. I have so much that I've taken away from this program, and I am very, very sure my capacity has been enhanced, and I have so much more I can offer to my principal now. For example, the major thrust of this has been what I learned about oversight and how to be more useful to my boss to deliver effective representation to his constituents, especially in the area of oversight.
Hafsat Babajo works with a member of the House of Representatives from Katsina State.
If aides are given this opportunity, they will learn a lot about their designation. So I feel I'm privileged and I've learned a lot.
All of these things, they feed into what we do. All the modules, all the topics, everything, there's nothing that has not been relevant. Everything, like from motions to legislative drafting to oversight, even ethics. So I feel like Nilds thought it through. Like they've addressed practically every aspect of the work that we do, and you know that's it shows the thought that has gone into this program, and we appreciate it.
Since 1999 to date, the highest number of legislative aides per senator is 5, and is the same thing in the House. That does not help much, really. I'm not advocating for more than necessary, but what we have today is inadequate.
The Director General of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, Nilds, Professor Abubakar Suleiman, has called for an end to ethnic profiling amidst the mounting security challenges in the country. Professor Suleiman made the call in Abuja at a capacity building workshop for clerks and deputy clerks of security committees in the National Assembly, organized by Nilds in partnership with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, CAS. DG insisted that no tribe, region or religion was insulated from the security challenges confronting the nation. Professor Abubakar Suleiman, a former Minister of National Planning, said it is important for the National Assembly, through its various committees on security, to articulate policies that will serve as blueprint in tackling the challenges.
CAS and Nilds are working together to draw up a roadmap for consideration by legislatures and possible legislative actions in the year 2021, and other areas of reform do not necessarily require legislative actions, and include the promotions of informal collaborative structures and mechanisms between security agencies, strengthening the capacity of the National Assembly and its committee to effectively conduct oversight of security budget and activities, and perhaps improving transparency and accountability through greater citizen participation and engagement of the CSOs. The legislature is a key actor in security sector governance because it is involved in creating and overseeing the legal framework within which the security sector operates. It is the responsibility of the National Assembly, therefore, to help shape a sound legal framework and make sure security actors and executive fulfill their roles effectively within the limit it creates. As clerks and deputy clerks, you drive legislative process through the roles you play in various committees. The success of the reform being envisaged is hinged on your capacity to understand and articulate issues and provide support to legislatures to review legislations and undertake effective oversight. It is expected that you will assist in providing support to legislation both in plenary and during committee meetings.
The country's representative of Konrad Adenauer Foundation, Dr. Vladimir Krek, says it is crucial to train National Assembly committees on oversight to effectively contribute to solving Nigeria's security debacle.
Members come and members go, and who does it know better than many of you clerks and deputy clerks who have been for many, many years, some of you probably more than 20 years meanwhile, in the National Assembly. The high turnover after every election leads to a loss of knowledge in the committees of members of parliament, and in fact the clerks remain as the often institutional memory of the parliament. Considering this, it is even more important to provide capacity building to those who remain, to those who can transmit knowledge, to those who actually support legislators, especially new legislators and new chairmen of committees in their work in the National Assembly.
Professor Abubakar Suleiman has advocated a code of conduct for parliamentary staff of state houses of assembly. While opening a workshop organized in partnership with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation for speakers of state houses of assembly, Professor Suleiman also called for a review of legislations in line with modern realities.
As leadership, it is vital that we review the performance of our assemblies in the previous year with a view to identifying areas that we have made improvements and those that require more attention. It may interest you to note that at the moment, there is no code of conduct either at NAS or in the states to regulate the conduct of parliamentary staff, legislative aides, interns, vendors, consultants, and others that work with legislature. The Federal Civil Service, on the other hand, has an elaborate ethical code to regulate the conduct of all categories of staff and employees. I am confident that at this meeting, we will identify other capacity gaps that are either general or specific to your assemblies. We at the Institute, working with our partner CAS, are committed to the capacity development of state assemblies. In addition to the training activity being organized for members, we are also available to provide technical support, especially in highly specialized areas like bill drafting and official reporting. In fact, the Institute has fully developed postgraduate programs, masters at HND, with accreditations with UNIBEN and NAPTEP. I encourage speakers to identify relevant staff and sponsor them to these programs.
Professor Suleiman commended the leadership of the National Assembly for initiating reforms cutting across various sectors. A participant at the workshop and Speaker Ogun State House of Assembly, Olakunle Oluomo, expressed satisfaction at the quality of training at the sessions.
It's been of tremendous advantage to members of State House of Assembly, bearing in mind that the legislators are the whipping child of the democracy in Nigeria. So we are really satisfied with the type of training, workshops and seminars and exposures that we are seeing from both CAS and Nilds.
Honorable Edward Uchenna is the Speaker in Enugu State House of Assembly.
We have benefited a lot in the terms of capacity building. They have done massively well. And we have serious improvement, especially those people that came new in the system. It was about 2 or 3 times we had the program. There was a serious improvement on the area of how to even go for oversight.
The Deputy Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly, the Right Honorable Wasiu Eshiloku Sani, says the collaboration between Nilds and the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, CAS, has been of great benefit to state legislators.
The cooperation between Nilds and CAS and the state houses of assembly has been very, very productive. It's been a very symbiotic relationship and is mutually beneficial. For us at the Lagos State House of Assembly, I think that we have benefited from this collaboration.
Key followers of the House will recognize or agree that security has been a priority of the House of Representatives. It occupies a very prominent role in our legislative agenda. I personally have visited in the last year 3 of the flashpoint areas in the country, namely Borno, Katsina, and Zamfara. I went there physically with some of my members for one reason and one reason only, to have a personal assessment and close contact with the state and those who held the levers of power and the people of that state, so that we could have a first-hand knowledge which will frame proper legislation in combating the security situation in the country.
Legislators at the state level have been urged to raise the bar in terms of their legislative output and contributions to governance. DG Nilds, Professor Suleiman, gave the advice in Owerri, the Imo State capital, at a workshop organized by the Institute in partnership with the CAS Foundation for States House of Assembly.
Our experience has shown that whereas significant progress has been made at the national level, State Assembly continue to face multiple challenges that include lack of autonomy and the attendant consequences of that. In a retreat like this, as the one we had last week, CAS and speakers from our partner State Assembly, I made the point that financial autonomy of state assemblies is a prerequisite for democratic consolidation in Nigeria. Unless legislatures and the subnational levels are truly independent by way of controlling their own finances, they will remain perpetually at the mercy of the governors. This underscores the need to immediately implement the provisions of the Fourth of Treasury that state that funds standing in the credit of the House of Assembly in the state are to be paid directly to them for the benefit of legislatures and the management of the houses of assembly. Despite all the resistance and opposition, financial autonomy has started taking hold in many states, and I'm very, very optimistic that with persistence, all states will enjoy autonomy in the nearest future. This autonomy, however, places serious demands on state assemblies, who would be expected to prepare their budgets, manage their resources, and account for them in a manner that is transparent and accessible. The optimizations of autonomy will also depend on the ability of state assembly to build internal capacity within the assembly in core areas of legislative and governance. However, perhaps the most important aspect of autonomy is that it will free the legislature from the control of the executive and place state assemblies on equal pedestal with other arms of government.
The workshop also addressed issues regarding the operationalization of autonomy for lawmakers, standardization of practices and procedures, implementation and tracking of legislative agenda, improvement of committee systems and processes, as well as development of legislative ethics and code of conduct.
View of the challenges associated with the operationalization of the autonomy, this capacity building workshop, I want to believe, has addressed various important issues, including the standardization of practice and procedure, development, implementation, and tracking of legislative agenda, improving committee system and processes, operationalization of financial autonomy, and development of a legislative ethics and code of conduct.
At the conclusion of the training programs, the high point was always the presentation of certificates to participants.
You are a symbol and a gift to the nation, an asset to the National Assembly. So I present this certificate to you in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
Now at this point, we'll call it a wrap on today's edition of the program Inside Nilds. For inquiries, please visit our website and other social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Now before I leave you, let's recall a statement together by Ralph Nader. There cannot be a daily democracy without daily citizenship. You get that? I'm Emmanuel Ohiomokai. Have a lovely evening.